Pretty Boy R&B is dead. Or is it? No, it's dead. It's dead. Guys, have you noticed how, like, we don't really get Pretty Boy R&B anymore? Something that Michael Jackson crafted, Usher and Justin Timberlake perfected, the pretty dancing, R&B star. Chris Brown came through. We've got so many. Omarion, Mario, Justin Bieber. I mean, yes, Justin Bieber still, but he's not doing Pretty Boy R&B. Notice that even Chris Brown, they're not doing Pretty Boy R&B anymore. It's dead. And it's kind of interesting. So let's talk about it. Yes, my hair. Yes, I did get my hair did. Changing it up. I love this style. And I just wanted to change it up. But you'll find out more about why I changed my hair soon. Really soon. But anyway, I digressed. We're talking about Pretty Boy R&B. It's dead. Name a Pretty Boy R&B singer that is in like the top of the charts. They don't exist. So what has replaced Pretty Boy R&B? Ty Dolla $ign, Khaled, The Weeknd. Have you noticed that? Because like I remember people talking about how R&B has died. People say R&B is dead. People say R&B is dead, but R&B is not dead. Pretty Boy R&B is dead. In fact, even Pretty Girl R&B is kind of dead too. But we're not going to talk about the girls. We're talking about the guys. Pretty Boy R&B is dead. Okay. We have Ty Dolla $ign. We have The Weeknd. We have Khaled. And I'm sure we have so many more. And this idea that R&B is dead is a lie, because the most streamed artists right now, or some of the most streamed artists right now, are R&B singers. Justin Bieber, The Weeknd, 70 million streams on Spotify a month. That's just on Spotify. How many streams do they have on Apple Music, on Tidal, and then on YouTube Music? These guys are huge. So R&B is not dead by any means. In fact, when you think about hip hop and hip hop culture, I really believe that, and I think a lot of people say this, hip hop has just completely encompassed the whole music industry. It's swallowed it all. Because every single genre, not every, but a lot of genres that were cool and popular, like rock and roll and like punk rock, all these other things, they're pretty much doing that in hip hop. They're just dressed with tattoos. They have like this like emo hip hop. So they've kind of like infiltrated a little bit or fused in that like rock and roll kind of vibe into hip hop. So there are many reasons for this. And I'm going to like point out some of the people who changed the game, and they all happened in the 10s. Yes, the 10s was a very impactful era in music, but like that decade, right? From 2005, from the emergence of the internet until it's more than a decade. Okay, it's 15 years. 2005 until 2020. That 15-year stretch, so much happened in music. It evolved. It took leaps and bounds beyond our comprehension. So much has happened. And it completely changed the landscape. So hip hop culture has always been cool, has always been dope. And before, a lot of people were just appropriating it. Now hip hop leads, and now hip hop culture rappers are singing. They're all singing. They're all like pretty much doing R&B. They're singing. There's melodies. There's all this stuff, and it's just proof that at the end of the day, that's what's in that. That's what's in now. I just hope that it does. I mean, I really love it. I hope it doesn't go, but it's cool. But I just think about that, the fact that think people like Ty Dolla $ign, right? He's like, I did not realize how big of an artist he is. Like, when you think about, a lot of times as consumers, we see the artist's impact based on their image and their branding and how many social media followers they have and all of that. But the real substance is about their numbers, their streams, their rotations, like how impactful is their music. That's why, for example, the other day, The Weeknd said something about like him pulling out of the Coachella if they don't pay him what they offered Kanye, or he said something comparing himself to Kanye West. And I think we all laughed because it's laughable because Kanye West is like, by every stretch of the imagination, he's a superstar. And I guess people don't really see The Weeknd like a mega superstar because they just don't, right? It's like Bruno Mars. You don't see them as superstars. But at the end of the day, when you look at their streams, The Weeknd has 20 million more streams plus 20 million plus more streams than Kanye West every month. Bruno Mars, incredible streams. So there's a difference between being a celebrity and a superstar and a popular musician. There's a difference. Now, Kanye West has been able to stretch across all those things because he comes from the traditional era of music where, being a celebrity and being a musician was the same thing. And I think in this modern era, it's not the same thing. I give you another example. I think about Lizzo. I was looking at Lizzo's Spotify, and I was looking at Bad Baby, the Catch Me Outside girl. I know she said don't call her that, but girl, I'm not calling anybody Bad Baby or whatever. So I looked at their numbers, right? And you look on YouTube, and Bad Baby has like almost 8 million followers. Lizzo has like 2.5 or something like that. But when you go on Spotify, you look at their monthly listeners. Well, Bad Baby is like a dwarf compared to Lizzo, right? And so I say all this to say that the impact, being a celebrity is a completely different thing from being a musical superstar, or I won't call it super, let's say musical act. It's a different thing. The impact is different. And someone that worked towards like separating that vastly was Paris Hilton, Kim Kardashian, separating talent from celebridom. The Kardashians, Paris Hilton, they really did that. And so many other people have contributed to the changed landscape in media and entertainment. So now I really want to talk about the death of Pretty Boy R&B. And now I think about who impacted this? Who is the person or who are the people who changed this landscape? Honestly, I have 3 people in mind that have something to do with this. I say Chris Brown, R. Kelly, and there are more than that. I would say Drake also had a component there. Lil Wayne has a little bit of involvement. Beyonce has a huge impact because Beyonce kind of introduced the whole like sing rap thing where people sing but it's like they're rapping. So Destiny's Child, Beyonce, they introduced that. Chris Brown had this squeaky boy image, this pretty boy image, dancing Michael Jackson type. Ushers, Justin Timberlake, Michael Jackson all paved the way for Chris Brown. But once Chris Brown beat Rihanna, his image kind of flipped upside down. And in addition to that, he got all these tattoos, started looking more thuggish, started, going in and out of jail. So really like attaching himself to the image of a thug, of a gangster. But that's not what you expect from an R&B singer. Not only Chris Brown, also R. Kelly, who also, I won't say R. Kelly was ever a pretty boy, but maybe he was back in the 90s. Maybe he was kind of that because he was a dancer and he could sing, right? And so in a way, R. Kelly also contributed in that, when he sort of like changed up his image, and it almost like made people not believe in the pretty boy R&B myth anymore. Because like when you see all of them, I made another video when I broke this down, but like it's like all of them have some bad image underneath their name. And when you even think about why was that pretty boy R&B even evolved in the first place, I would say Michael Jackson has a big impact in that, and Michael Jackson was naturally a very beautiful person, just a very kind and sweet person, and everything about his energy and the fact that we watched him growing up as a child, being that sweet soul into an adult. And no, I'm not going to buy into the idea that he did anything to any children. Do not buy into that. Sorry. You can't ruin Michael Jackson for me. Because like I just look at him and I see his content, I see the behind the scenes footage of Michael Jackson, and just as Janet said in her documentary, he doesn't have it in him. I don't believe it. Sorry. I thought this through. At a point I did believe it. I watched that documentary that they made on HBO, the Neverland documentary, I believed it. But when I watched Janet's documentary, I don't believe it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I do not believe it. Sorry. And yes, of course, they have every incentive to shape his image that way. But aside from that, I definitely believe about R. Kelly, Trey Songz, Chris Brown. I believe all of those. I believe all of those things. And I say all that to say, maybe we could say the accusations that went on Michael Jackson's was the first kind of step into diminishing that pretty boy, pretty soul R&B image. Then R. Kelly adopted it. Then we saw Chris Brown. Thankfully, Usher and Justin Timberlake did not participate in that or did not adopt it. But that's neither here nor there. Anyway, so yes, Chris Brown, major contribution to that. And after that, Drake came in and Drake kind of showed the look, I could be a R&B singer. I'm not pretty, but I'm sexy, right? I can be an R&B singer and I'm a rapper. So that thuggishness that came from rapping, he was able to encompass that, and he's kind of sexy. He has a very sexy voice too. So he kind of merged it together and sort of like brought singing R&B into hip hop. And another person that did that is Lil Wayne. How did Lil Wayne do that? His whole thing was the sing rap thing. He was a rapper singer. He would use autotune. T-Pain is another person. Bone Thugs and Harmony. I'm sure we could name so many people that contributed to this fusion. But there's one thing to fuse it musically, and there's another thing to fuse it when it comes to their image. And when I see where that shift really started to happen, these guys kind of like started the movement, and the people that implemented it and really like solidified it was, I think it's around the 2014 era when the Weeknd launched, like fully launched, because like the Weeknd was out before with his mixtapes and stuff. But when he really like came into the market and became mainstream, Ty Dolla $ign, and not only were they, their images were I won't say thuggish, but it was rough and rugged, a little bit hardcore, but also the content of their music changed. Unlike even Drake, unlike Chris Brown, they're not singing love songs. They're not singing, beautiful songs about marrying women and loving women. No, they're singing like F-boy, F-boy stuff, like really like toxic or, playa type music. So, and then the tattoos are all there, the beats that they use, they're using hip hop beats. They're not using these R&B sing song beats, these pretty beats. They're not doing that. They're using hip hop, hardcore hip hop beats. They're putting R&B vocals in it. And one thing that they're doing so that you don't fully even realize or associate them with the typical R&B star is they're not harmonizing in their music the same way that we expect the harmonies that are coming out of Chris Brown and R. Kelly and Trey Songz, the harmonies that, these people, Ty Dolla $ign can harmonize. He can do all of that. But no, he decided he's not going to really just do any of that because he's not trying to wife you up. He's not trying to do anything like that. He's just trying to be an F-boy, right? And also the Weeknd is doing harmonies, but he's doing it differently. He's not giving us early 2000s, 90s, or, any of these harmonies that we expect that are coming from like Boys to Men and all that. He can sing equally as well as all of those people. In fact, his voice mirrors Michael Jackson's voice, which is why I think that he's one of the biggest streamed artists right now. I think it's because he's literally the reincarnation of Michael Jackson vocally, not anything else. And he had this rugged image, these like dreads, but his dreads weren't even like the kind that are like, that you see with Ty Dolla $ign. His dreads were just like, I just let my hair grow and do what it did. Really, so he brought something different to R&B, and that swagger that comes with that thuggish image. And I wouldn't say The Weeknd wasn't necessarily thuggish, but he was more so grungy. He's more so like, I don't know, like I don't want to call it ugly. I don't mean ugly aesthetically, in terms of like whether you're pretty or not, but it was more like the ugly underbelly, right? Of society. And it's not an insult. That's how I would describe his early image. Now he's crafted it up now to more of like, I mean, it's like he's more like a pop star, druggy. Again, these things, I'm not trying to be offensive, but this is what he's kind of giving right now. Pop star, druggy, rock star, Elvis Presley, but in the modern era. That's what he's giving right now. But back then it was different. It was more grungy. It was more like the underbelly, the, ugly underbelly of society that he was giving. But his vocals were so angelic. And that's where the irony lies with The Weeknd. I think that's where the interest lies, because those vocals, those angelic vocals that you expect from the pretty boys like the Justin Biebers and the Chris Browns and all these, Michael Jacksons, we got The Weeknd. And it was almost like a contrast between a devil and an angel. Just like, this contrast. And I think that's what drew people into him, because at the end of the day, when we bought into the Pretty Boy R&B, most of them ended up being, what they were. They weren't what they sold us. So maybe this guy who is not selling us that pretty boy thing, maybe he's even a more decent human being. And in fact, when you looked at his life, still today, we don't have any bad stories about The Weeknd attacking people or anything. And we have seen him consistently in strong relationships with people, right? So at the end of the day, he actually ended up being like more of an angel in terms of his personal life than the rest of them, which is the irony. So it's like, at least give us the truth in the surface, and when we get the truth, we just get reality. And I think that interesting contrast was very dynamic. And of course, Ty Dolla $ign. So he typically has a typical pretty boy kind of look. He could have swayed into the pretty boy look, but at the same time, it's contrasted, right? He also has this, so he's kind of rough around the edges, and that worked in his favor, because he didn't lean into the pretty boy look. Because at the end of the day, as much as he has the light eyes and the blonde hair and blonde dreads and all of that, lighter skinned, there are other people that are prettier than him in that game. So instead of leaning into the pretty boy look, him leaning into that thuggish gangster look, that more rugged look, it actually suited him more, because he probably didn't want to play in the game of the Chris Browns with the six packs and just being pretty and stuff like that. I don't think he wanted to play into that. He just wanted to be like, look, I'm just going to be me. And I think one thing about rappers versus singers is it's a lot easier for someone to be a rapper, because they don't have to be as put together. They could just like roll up out the bed and just show up and be like, yo, whatever. But a singer, you have to do everything, even whether you're a boy or a girl or a man or a woman. As a singer, you have to be packaged, you have to be perfect. It's probably, there's so much that goes into it. But as a rapper, you could just be like, yo, I just showed up, what's up? And that's a big difference. Like when you even think about like Chris Brown and Justin Bieber with the lip gloss and the hair and the makeup, rappers probably they probably just, at the end of the day, you kind of have to put a little bit of makeup for TV. Even I have like powder on my face. It doesn't look like I have anything on. And that's why, because it reduces the oiliness in your face. So rappers are still going to have makeup on, but it's not going to be the pretty boy makeup like the Justin Biebers when they were like doing his eyebrows and tweaking his, they're doing all these things that you don't even notice. These guys have a lot of makeup on, you don't even notice. But when it comes to the Ty Dolla $igns, they just let him do what he did. With the dreads and the I just think it's a really interesting era. It started in 2014, maybe a little bit earlier. It was like emerging in the early 10s, and then by mid-decade 2014, it really came through, and it's still prevalent till this day, to the extent that like that fusion has happened even more. And rappers, singers, the most popular rappers are singers. They are technically R&B singers. And I bet you, if you ask them to hit some notes, they will hit some notes better than your favorite, or just as equally as well as your favorite R&B singer. But they're branded and they're packaged in a different way. Now, we still do have R&B singers, Bryson Tiller and so many other people, but at the end of the day, they're not as popular as the rapper / R&B singers. And I think it's an interesting landscape. But yes, it's the death of Pretty Boy R&B happened a long time ago. Around 2014 it happened, or even earlier. and we're in this new era, and let's see how long it lasts for. Anyway, those are my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts. Leave a comment down below. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, all the above. My name is Kenim, and see you next time. Peace.